I know my last video I had said that I was going to explain to you how I found out that I had cancer. So I'm going to do that now. At first, this video, first of all, is, I don't want it to be like a really sad video or anything, because I want to let you know that I just found out a couple of days ago that I am in remission. Yay! I think I found out on the 25th that there's no signs of cancer, because they kind of got a little scared thinking that it had returned, and that I had some inflammation. It wound up just being inflammation in my back from the previous surgeries that I've been having. So everything looked good. All my results are good. So far everything is good. I just have to go in and get checked out every 3 months and make sure that everything is good, because it's such an aggressive cancer. So anyways, around the beginning of 2017, I noticed that I had a dark pimple on my back. And I know, for me it was kind of weird, because I've never had any like pimples or bumps on my back or anything like that before. So I mentioned it to my sister and some of my coworkers, and it was like, I really think you should, go and get it checked out. You need to really go and get it checked out and make sure everything's okay. But I didn't do that. I kept pushing it off and pushing it off. And just, I was like, well, it's not really hurting me, maybe it'll just go away. So at night, since people were saying it looked kind of like a cyst, or abscess or whatever, I was like, well, you know what, I'll just try applying heat. And so I slept with heating pads, and I put heat packs and everything on it every night I was doing it. And it didn't seem like it was going away. So maybe I waited about a total of probably about maybe like 3 months before I finally said one day after work, I was like, you know what, it's starting to irritate me in that area. So I'm probably going to, just stop by an emergency clinic just to have the doctor look at it and make sure everything's okay. So I did that, and when I went in, the doctor looked at it and said it looked like a cyst, and that she can just cut it and pack it for me. So she did that, and I went on, on my way. Well, I noticed though that it never really like went down or healed really well. It actually looked like it got bigger and darker. But I really didn't think anything of it. So I waited another few months. Maybe like 3 months later, I started having a lot of like discomfort in my back and everything. And it felt like my back was always like kind of sore, like in my shoulder area. Well, February 2018, I started experiencing like hot flashes, kind of like I was like sweating a lot. My hair is crazy. I was like kind of sweating a lot. I felt like I needed even more water, and like I was kind of like out of breath. I had like palpitations in my chest. I was kind of sort of seeing like black and white spots. I just didn't feel like myself. So people around me started noticing that, and then I remember one day someone was like, Tiffany, we need to check your blood pressure. And I thank God for loved ones and friends and my coworkers for like really looking out for me. It's like, when people know you, they notice things like that. And because we're so busy with our daily life and just working and trying to pay bills and everything, that sometimes we put our health and everything else to the side, and I shouldn't have did that. Like, never did that. I've never had any major health issues or anything, but as soon as I started having problems like this, I should have been on it. But I thank God for my family and friends. So anyways, we checked my blood pressure, and it was sky high. So I remember my boss sent me to my primary. They, working at a hospital, you can't, if your blood pressure that high. My blood pressure was like 197/105, and it was a lot higher than that a few times. So I remember going to my primary, and she started me on some blood pressure medication. And I mentioned to her at the time about the dark spot on my back. So she looked at it, and I told her that about a few months before, like, I went to an emergency clinic, and that they packed it. and drain it, but it didn't seem like it went away at all. It actually looks like it got bigger. So she was like, you know, it looks like a deep cyst, and you're probably going to have a surgeon. It probably didn't go deep enough. You're going to have a surgeon go in to remove it. So she said, we're going to work on getting your blood pressure in control first, and then I'll refer you to a doctor for that. We'll take care of that. So I remember, like, for a week, I had to monitor my blood pressure, and every day I had to write it down. So at my follow-up appointment with my primary, my blood pressure was doing much better, and she said the medication was working. So I mentioned to her about my back again. So she said, okay. So she put in a referral for a surgeon. Well, I went to go see a surgeon, like maybe that's, you know, follow up with the surgeon for the referral for maybe like 2 weeks later. And the surgeon, I went into my appointment, and the surgeon took a look at my back, and he said, yeah, he agreed it looked like it was just a deep cyst and that they probably didn't go in deep enough. And what we'll do is we'll go ahead and put you to sleep and go in. He said it'd be a quick surgery in and out. So I remember saying, okay, now I had never had any major surgeries or anything like that before. So this is all brand new to me. So, I mean, I know they said it was a small surgery, but for me it was a huge surgery. So I thought anyways. So anyways, I remember going in for my pre-ops and all that, my lab work and, you know, the EKG and all that stuff. It was on my first surgery was on my birthday, my 38th birthday, March 9, 2018. And I remember my brother, such an awesome person, because I think my mom was over in Hawaii visiting my sister, and I believe my dad was out of town. So all my family was out of town except for my brother. So my brother really stepped up to the plate, because my family would be there if they were, you know, in States. But my brother really stepped up to the plate and helped me out. So he took me to he took me to the hospital on that morning of March 9th. And I remember I was so scared, so nervous and everything. And he really, like, took care of his sister. I want to cheer up because he's my younger brother, by the way. But he really stepped it up. Like, I really look up to him and my sister. So he really stepped it up. He kept me calm. And I remember crying like a big baby. I was like, I'm so scared, you know. Like, I didn't want to be put to sleep. Like, I was scared. I was like, oh my gosh, like, what if I don't wake up, you know, like, thinking. And I know with God first, you should not, God has it all under control. You should not worry about anything like that. But I am human, you know. Sometimes it just happens. So anyways, he calmed me down. All I remember is coming through, and the thing I complained about the most was my throat being really sore from the breathing tube being down my throat. And little did I know that was the least of my worries and my problems. So anyway, so my brother took me home and everything, and he took really good care of me until my parents, well, my mom was still over in Hawaii until my dad got back in town. So I remember with the first surgery, I only had glue in the back. It was kind of big, but I only had glue or stitches on the inside and the adhesive glue that they use on the outside. And I was out of work for about maybe 3.5 to 4 weeks, probably about a month.